The news came without warning, and it hit like a sudden checkered flag in the middle of a race that never seemed to be ending. Marc Johnson, the name that for many fans was synonymous with raw talent, quiet determination, and a life lived at full speed, has passed away. There was no dramatic build-up, no final interview, no last-minute press conference explaining what had happened. Just the quiet, devastating realization that the person we thought would be around for years, maybe even decades, is gone. Marc's death is not just the end of a life. It is the end of a chapter in the story of motorsport, of racing culture, and of the people who made this sport feel like family. Marc Johnson was not a driver whose name filled headlines every weekend. He wasn't the face of a global brand, the poster boy for a major manufacturer, or the star of $1 million endorsement deal. But those who knew him, who watched him race, who shared the garage with him, or who simply felt the pull of his presence in the paddock will tell you that Marc was the kind of person who made the sport feel more human. He was the one who stayed late to talk with fans, the one who helped a young mechanic fix a broken wheel, the one who smiled at the camera, even when the race didn't go his way. He drove with a quiet fire, not for the glory, but for the love of the machine, the rhythm of the engine, and the feeling of control at the edge of danger. That love, that dedication, is what made his death feel so personal to so many people. For years, Marc had been a familiar figure on the track, a driver who could turn a modest car into a contender with sheer skill and focus. He wasn't always the fastest on the grid, but he was always the most consistent, always the one who could make a mistake look like a calculated risk. Fans started to notice him not because of flashy moves or viral moments, but because of the way he carried himself between races. He was the kind of driver who would stop to sign an autograph even when he was tired, who would listen to a young fan's story about growing up wanting to race, and who would remember small details about people he'd met before. That kind of connection doesn't happen by accident. It happens when someone chooses to care, and Marc chose to care every single time. His death came unexpectedly, and while the exact cause has not been publicly disclosed, the silence around the details only adds to the weight of the loss. In the days following the news, the racing community flooded social media with messages, photos, and memories. Some posted pictures of him on the track, helmet on, eyes focused on the starting line. Others shared stories of the time he stayed after a race to talk to a fan who had traveled hundreds of miles just to see him. A few simply wrote, "He was one of us," and that phrase, repeated again and again, became the heart of the tribute. It wasn't about trophies or records. It was about the way he made people feel when they were near him, the way he made the sport feel like a place where everyone belonged. What makes Marc Johnson's death so painful is not just that he was taken too soon, but that he was in the middle of something. He was still racing, still learning, still growing as a driver and as a person. There were races he had yet to finish, conversations he had yet to have, and moments he had yet to share with the people who loved this sport as much as he did. The idea that he will never get to experience those moments again is a heavy one, a weight that settles in the chest and stays there. It's a reminder that in motorsport, the line between living and dying is often just a few inches of asphalt, a few degrees of angle, a few seconds of decision. That truth is always there, but it's only when someone like Marc is taken that we truly feel it. For fans, Marc's legacy will live on in the replays, the highlight reels, and the quiet moments when they remember the sound of his engine, the look of his car, the way he would wave to the crowd after a good finish. He wasn't the kind of driver who needed to be the loudest or the most famous to be remembered. He was the kind of driver who made people feel that they were part of something bigger than themselves, that the sport was more than just competition, more than just speed, more than just winning. He made them feel that they were part of a family, and that family now feels a little smaller. In the days and weeks that follow, there will be tributes, moments of silence, and racing events held in his memory. Teams will mention his name in the garage. Fans will wear his old race numbers, and young drivers will talk about the way he inspired them to keep going even when the odds were against them. That's the kind of impact a person can have when they devote their life to something they love, when they give more than they take, and when they treat every person they meet as if they matter. Marc Johnson did that, and that's why his death is not